the gun down. I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
Put the gun down, David.
It seems that envy is my sin.
No, what's in the box?
Without Se7en's ending, would thrillers even exist as we know them? We're revealing the behind-the-scenes war that nearly destroyed one of cinema's darkest moments. Se7en's ending was so disturbing a test audience member screamed the filmmakers should be killed. Hollywood tried erasing it, but Brad Pitt had a secret weapon, a contract clause that would shut down production if they touched the ending. This wasn't just a movie, it was a war for the soul of Hollywood, and Pitt was willing to nuke his career to win it. Let's open the box. Se7en is a film that broke every Hollywood rule, yet became a cultural phenomenon. It arrived just as America needed to confront its own hypocrisy. Picture this. It's 1995. America is glued to the OJ trial and reeling from the Oklahoma City bombing. Real violence had become entertainment, and evil could come from anywhere. We were a culture simultaneously horrified by violence and utterly addicted to it. Se7en's unnamed city became the perfect metaphor for societal decay. Rain-soaked streets, crumbling infrastructure, citizens walking past suffering without stopping. While the movie was inspired by late 80s New York and filmed in Los Angeles, it ultimately represented many American cities in which compassion had died, and indifference reigned supreme. Sound familiar? Fast forward to 2025, and Se7en's universe has become our modern-day reality. Homelessness ignored, violence normalized, empathy extinct. Se7en didn't just entertain audiences. It diagnosed them. It diagnosed us. And that diagnosis has only become more accurate with time. This wasn't just a film. It was an experiment that reprogrammed what studios thought audiences are open to handling. But the real fight hadn't even begun, because the ending was still under attack. Andrew Kevin Walker, Tower Records by day, tortured script pages by night, spiraled into depression in 1980s New York. That pain birthed Se7en. Walker didn't just want to scare audiences, he wanted to leave them violated and exhausted. Walker's first draft ended with a head in a box. Mills's wrath, Doe's victory. Studio execs recoiled. They wanted a cleaner resolution, something audiences could stomach. Under pressure, Walker crafted 13 different drafts. Picture these alternate Se7ens. Somerset kills Doe instead of Mills. Somerset gets wounded trying to save Mills from himself. Tracy rescued from a burning church. Mills accidentally shooting Somerset. A dead dog instead of a severed head, afraid audiences couldn't handle it. Comment below. Which ending would have ultimately ruined the film? Knowing what we know, perhaps all of them. After Alien 3 crushed his vision, David Fincher swore he'd never take another note from studio execs again. Se7en was his revenge. When his agent slipped him Walker's original script, as opposed to one of the watered-down rewrites, Fincher was immediately intrigued. "I got 20 pages in and thought it was a generic buddy cop movie," Fincher recalled. "But then all of a sudden it took this turn. I found myself getting more and more trapped in this kind of evil." Fincher took on directorial duties and fought for authenticity at every microscopic level. When Brad Pitt slipped during the chase and severed a tendon through a car windshield, Fincher rewrote the script on the spot. Mills now wears a cast because Pitt's injury was too real to waste. John Doe's hundreds of notebooks, all real, handwritten. The art department spent 2 months and $15,000 filling them cover to cover with disturbing ravings. When they photocopied them at Kinko's, employees were horrified, not knowing it was for a film. Fincher even personally poured refrigerated blood on the lust victim, joking, "I have demons you can't even imagine." This wasn't directing. It was method filmmaking. Brad Pitt was ultimately cast as Detective David Mills after several actors turned down the role. Pitt was at a crucial point in his career, wary of being typecast as just another pretty face. Denzel Washington originally turned down the role, calling the script too dark and evil. After watching the film, he famously admitted that he regretted his decision. For the part of Somerset, Gene Hackman and Robert Duvall each passed. Too bleak for them as well. Morgan Freeman, however, saw what they missed. To Freeman, Somerset wasn't just another weary detective, he was the film's moral compass in a world spinning off its axis. But Denzel and Hackman weren't the only actors who passed. Picture this alternate Seven universe. Stallone as Mills, Al Pacino as Somerset, REM's Michael Stipe as John Doe, Christina Applegate as Tracy. That was almost reality. The most shocking near miss? Val Kilmer as John Doe. Imagine Val Kilmer performing the monologue in the police car with Mills and Somerset. But it was Kevin Spacey who shocked the audience the most. Once he was cast as John Doe, his involvement was kept completely secret. His name didn't appear anywhere in the marketing, it was omitted from the opening credits. And a code name for him was used on the call sheets. Picture audiences watching this methodical killer story unfold. When suddenly Kevin Spacey, Academy Award winner, respected dramatic actor, casually walks into the police station, covered in blood. The shock was immediate and visceral. The fight to preserve the dark ending didn't end with casting. When New Line Cinema took over, they too pushed for changes. Studio execs felt the ending was too dark for audiences to accept. Fincher and Pitt, however, smelled danger and opportunity. They fought to keep the ending intact, making it a contractual requirement that the head in the box must remain unchanged. Fincher had learned how to navigate Hollywood's hidden power structures. He moved fast, getting the project into production within 6 weeks, before higher-ups could interfere. His ultimatum was simple: he would only direct Seven if he could do it his way, with full creative control. Even after principal photography wrapped, the studio made one last attempt to soften the blow. They floated replacing Tracy's head with Mills's dog, or having Somerset kill Doe instead. Each suggestion met with fierce resistance from the creators. The final compromise was minimal. Instead of cutting to black immediately after Mills shoots Doe, they added Somerset's Hemingway voiceover, Fincher's way of offering some humanity after the brutality. Seven operates on multiple levels: police procedural, horror film, philosophical meditation, and cultural diagnosis wrapped in rain-soaked dread. But what if the audience was the real sinner? Somerset and Mills represent two responses to decay. Somerset chooses withdrawal. Mills believes he can make a difference. David Fincher employs color coding and color symbolism extensively in the movie to enhance the storytelling and thematic element. The general color palette is muted, with black, gray, beige, and dull earthy tones dominating. This reflects the film's bleak atmosphere and the decay of the city where the story unfolds. The exterior city scenes are bathed in a cold blue light, contrasting with the warm orange used for interiors. This creates a sense of the city's oppressive nature versus the fleeting comfort of indoors. This became a template for psychological horror for years to come. Visual foreshadowing that makes the inevitable feel chosen. Doe envies Mills's normal life. Mills becomes wrath personified. The final two sins were hiding in plain sight. Remember the sloth crime scene? That moment when the corpse suddenly gasps and grabs Mills? John C. McGinley's terror was real. Actor Michael Reed McKay jolted awake and genuinely startled the SWAT leader, who didn't know the exact timing. That authentic jolt of pure fear, that's the final take in the film. Fincher didn't just want horror, he wanted to capture real human shock. But the real horror isn't the murders, it's the city that breeds them. Fincher's unnamed metropolis becomes a character itself. Perpetual rain washing nothing clean, towering decay, citizens casually stepping over bodies. This isn't just aesthetic, it's prophecy. The gluttony victim dies alone in squalor, while neighbors ignore his screams. The drug dealer rots for a year because society forgot he existed. This is the world where John Doe makes sense. The unnamed city in Seven isn't fictional, it's prophetic. Those rain-soaked streets, the crumbling infrastructure, citizens stepping over suffering without looking down. It's 2025 and Seven's fictional universe is our modern reality. Tent cities ignored, violence live-streamed. The sins aren't just plot devices, they're mirrors of urban decay we've normalized. We're not watching a 90s thriller anymore, we're watching the evening news. Here's what Fincher understood. Our imaginations did the work. The film refuses to show most violence directly. We never see the murders happen, only their aftermath. The horror we experience is largely self-generated. We've gamified sin, made it not just acceptable, but necessary for survival in the attention economy. Welcome to our true crime obsession. The ending crystallizes everything into one devastating moment. Mills's decision to kill Doe isn't wrong in any simple sense, but it's exactly what Doe wanted. Somerset's closing voiceover suggests the world might not be fine, but it's still worth fighting for. Even in a world full of John Does, individual action still matters. When Seven opened in September of 1995, a bleak thriller became one of the highest-grossing films of the year, over $327 million worldwide. What's in the box became cultural shorthand for shocking revelations, decades before memes existed. But here's the dark truth: every time we say that phrase, we're admitting we want to see the horror inside. Seven wasn't just a film, it was prophecy, the first true crime blockbuster. Before podcasts, before Netflix documentaries, Fincher showed murder as performance art. He pulled from noir like Silence of the Lambs and the claustrophobic cityscapes of Blade Runner, only he made something darker, a world where violence becomes material. Doe wasn't just a villain, he was a creator. Deaths as messages, sin as spectacle. And every time we binge another series about a charismatic killer, we're living in the world John Doe warned us about. Seven didn't just make us complicit, it made us addicted. Without Seven, there's no Saw, no Zodiac, no Mindhunter, no Batman Darkness, no true crime obsession. Seven proved audiences would choose despair over comfort if it meant truth. Here's what makes the ending so disturbing. We wanted that box opened as badly as Mills did. Fincher's original cut, even bleaker. Instant cut to black after the gunshot. 10 full seconds of silence. But during early testing, a projectionist accidentally turned the lights on too soon, jolting the audience out of the moment. Fincher's response? He added Somerset's Hemingway voiceover as a grace note, not to soften the blow, but to let the horror sink in. And the prop head of Tracy? Fincher chose not to show it. Our imaginations did the work, but the prop didn't go to waste. Years later, it was reused as Paltrow's head in Contagion. Even in death, Tracy couldn't escape Hollywood. So what if John Doe was right about everything except the solution? Seven doesn't condemn us for our appetite for darkness. It asks why we're drawn to it. Somerset represents the viewer who sees the darkness, but chooses to fight. Mills represents the viewer who thinks they're immune, until they're not. And Doe? He's what we become when we stop questioning our own appetites. Somerset doesn't give us comfort. He gives us reality. Seven reminds us art isn't supposed to soothe, it's supposed to scar. We wanted to see what was in that box as badly as Mills did, and 30 years later, we're still opening it. This wasn't just a movie, it was a mirror. So, what do you see in it? Drop your hottest take. Was Mills justified, or did the system win? Which alternate ending would have destroyed the film? And honestly, would Netflix have the guts to greenlight this today? For more film breakdowns that dig this deep, hit subscribe and join the Prism right now.